Hey guys, it's me, Kimberly Clark. Welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a makeup tutorial that features two palettes by LunatiCK Cosmetic Labs, the Supernatural Eyeshadow Palette and their Contour Palette. Welcome to my tutorial! So I decided to make a little tutorial video using this palette, the LunatiCK Cosmetic Labs Supernatural Palette, kind of like cool, reddish, neutral eyeshadow palette. I'm giving one of these away in my 10,000 subscriber giveaway. So if it is before June 21st, 2016, you can still enter that giveaway. I'm going to link the video where all the information for entry is. I'll link it down below. Please enter and tell your friends about it so you can get a chance to win one of these. So today for this look, I did like a very high dramatic drag eye, which I never ever really do with the kind of like new inner corner situation. But I just decided, since this is such like a kind of like neutral, kind of subtle eyeshadow palette, that I would do like a kind of crazy eye, just to see. I've never really tried it before, so that's kind of what I wanted to do. This tutorial is really just going to be for the kind of shadows, not the eyeliner and lashes and stuff. So if this isn't your thing, like crazy drag thing, then you still might enjoy watching this tutorial, just to say. So just to talk a little bit about this palette, I love this guy. I mean, the packaging is out of this world. It's just so beautiful. You have these 5 fabulous shades. I used the red shade and the shimmery shade over here on the lid. I used these 2 shades back here in the crease, and then I used this beautiful matte whitish purple shade as a brow bone highlight, and I think it's absolutely fabulous for that. Now also, I decided to do the rest of my face because I have talked so much about this contouring palette, which if you haven't seen me talk about this, I'll link my video down below that is my full in-depth review of this palette. But I did use this today to do my face, which I'll show you because I've never really showed you a full face tutorial with this palette. Anyway, so if you're interested in seeing me put these 2 palettes to use in this tutorial, please stay tuned and enjoy. So already on my face, in order of appearance, is the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream as a moisturizer, Lorac's Pore-fessional Mattifying Face Primer, and Becca's Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector, the Scandinavia Makeup Primer Spray, the oil control formula. Then I did some spot correcting and concealing with the Makeup Forever Concealer Palette in the shade 1. I topped that off with a layer of Blue Marble Setting Spray. Then I applied my foundation, which is MAC's Full Coverage Foundation in the shade NW25. Then I used some more Blue Marble Setting Spray to seal in that layer, and then I did my cream highlight with MAC's Full Coverage Foundation in the shade W10 and the RCMA Shading Cream Palette. I set my highlight and contour with NARS Soft Velvet Loose Powder in the shade Snow and Coty Airspun Powder in Translucent Extra Coverage. Now, onto my powder highlighting and contouring. I'm using the LunatiCK Cosmetic Labs Contour Palette and this Delium Tools 990 brush that I got at IMATS, just a fabulous, large, fluffy contour brush. I'm using that kind of medium cool shade from the palette, which is like my go-to shade, and I'm just carving out slightly higher than the actual natural hollows of my cheeks. Now, this brush is so big and fluffy that it kind of automatically blends as you place it, but as you can see, I'm just patting and kind of moving up and down to kind of diffuse that product a little bit so I don't have to then go back in and blend it out further. After I go into the hollows of my cheeks, I am taking this around my jawline and basically just filling in and tightening up my jaw just to make my face appear a little smaller and get rid of some of that Jay Leno chin, girl. I'm also taking this down my neck and then at my temples and across the top of my forehead. Again, same method, patting back and forth, not swiping or buffing. Then I'm using that darkest cool shade on the same brush, picking it up like so, and applying it just to the backs of the hollows of my cheeks and outermost portions of my face. Then of course I'm getting my good Kylie Jenner ear contour on, and I'm getting that cheek carved. And again, just buffing this around my chin and down my neck. And temples. Making sure everything is symmetrical. Boom. Then I'm taking this e.l.f. Studio Blush Brush. It's just like a small, tapered, fluffy kind of blush brush. And I'm using that vanilla shade from the contour palette. And I am just packing this on to my under eye area in that inverted triangle shape. You can see the difference from my left side to my right side. This is kind of like my base highlight shade. I'm also applying it to my chin, the center of my forehead. And then I'm flipping the brush over and using that bright white shade and applying that right to the tops of my cheekbones, the very center of my forehead and my chin, and then a little bit on the Cupid's bow. Then taking a little Beautique Fluffy number 11 brush, I'm taking that vanilla shade again, and I am going down the center of my nose. Notice on my nose, I do highlight first and then add in contour. I just feel like this is easier to kind of cut out the nose when you're doing a dramatic contoured nose like I am. And I'm taking that same brush and adding that white shade on the tip of my nose and slightly up the bridge. And again, packing that on to my Cupid's bow. Then taking a little Face Secrets kind of pointed fluffy brush, and I'm taking that cool contour shade again, my favorite one, the medium cool, and I am just tracing down the sides of my nose. This is kind of hard to demonstrate because I look straight ahead into the mirror to kind of try to straighten out my nose. So you can see I'm going down my nose and then I'm slightly buffing it out down the sides of my nose and into my eye socket. I'm making sure to really pack on the product on the kind of like bulbous end of my nose just to make it seem a little bit more pinched than it actually is. Some people have commented that my nose contouring is a bit extreme. Girl, I'm a drag queen, that's what I'm doing. You could always do this in a much more subtle way if you want to look a little bit more natural. Now I'm doing a little Miss Fame trick and taking some of that same product on my nostrils and the outer edges of my nostrils just to make my nose a little bit more narrow. Then I'm buffing out that contour using just whatever product that I have on my Delium Tools big fluffy brush. Then I'm taking my Beautique highlighting brush and just buffing out the edges of that ever so slightly. This is where you would buff this out even more if you wanted a more natural nose contoured look. Starting in on the eyes, I'm taking my trusty NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk, and I'm applying that all over my mobile lid towards the inner half of the eye and a little bit into my natural crease to kind of create a new oversized lid. Now, I actually already applied my brows in this look in advance, which I never do, but I took a risk and I think it turns out well. I happen to use the Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Creamy Beige for this. Then taking my e.l.f. Studio Contour Brush, just a little dense synthetic brush, I am buffing out that white shade, just making sure it's totally smooth and covers every inch of my eye, and just slightly buffing out the edges. I don't have to worry too much about blending out the edges of this because I want to use this white shade to define my cut crease because I'm not putting a ton of black in my crease today. Then taking this beautiful LunatiCK Cosmetic Lab Supernatural Palette, the star of the show, and I'm taking this sparkly highlight shade called Invocation. I'm applying that with a shader brush all the way into the inner corner and packing that out into the inner third of my eye. This is like a gorgeous, shimmery, but really cool neutral shade. Just beautiful. Then on that same brush on the other side, I'm taking that reddish shade from the palette called Spook, and I'm applying this to the outer half of my eyelid, or the lid that I've created, or the new lid that I've created. And I'm just kind of using this brush to blend them together slightly. And I'm taking my MAC 217 natural hair blending brush, and I am just blending those two shades even further. This is kind of the lid look. A little bit of shimmer, a little bit of dimension, beautiful, cool, neutral tone. Then I'm taking my fabulous Urban Decay brush from the Electric palette that I love. I'm taking that cool matte shade, Reincarnation. This is the second deepest shade in the palette, and I am packing this on to where my new crease will be. Now, if you aren't doing a kind of oversized drag eye, you could put this in your natural crease to deepen it up. And I'm taking my e.l.f. crease brush and just blending out that edge. Then with the smaller end of that brush, I'm taking the deepest shade in the palette, Ghoul Light, which is a deep, cool, purplish matte shade, and I am really carving out my crease. Now, the great thing about this tiny brush is that it's a little bit fluffy, so you can place the product and then slightly blend it as you work it into the shadows beneath it. And as I've said before, I love the shadows in this palette because they blend together very easily. They're not super pigmented, so that when you place them on top of each other, they eclipse the shadows beneath it. They really work well together. They play well with others, let's just say. Now, for this crease, I'm taking it and curving it all the way around, but I'm not super deepening in the outer part just yet. I kind of want to make a very kind of like, you know, vintage curved crease eye look. Then I'm taking the other side of the brush, the larger side, and I am just buffing this deeper shade into the mid-tone shade that I placed beneath it. I am adding a little bit more depth with the darkest shade, Ghoul Light, to the outer edge of that crease, but I am not bringing it all the way in towards my lash line as I've done in other looks. Then taking this e.l.f. crease brush and just blending out all the edges so it's nice and smooth. Then I'm taking this fabulous, cool, whitish shade, Myth, a matte, beautiful highlight shade, and I am taking that with just the cheapo e.l.f. eyeshadow brush and just packing that under my brow for a gorgeous brow bone highlight. And then, of course, blending in my crease shade with that brow bone with my e.l.f. crease brush. Now let me finish up my eyes. Shazam! As you can see, I have put on a very dramatic drag eye look. And I have also done that same kind of ombre with Reincarnation and Ghoul Light under the lower lash line. For lips, I've already applied Kat Von D's liquid lipstick in the shade Beloved. I love this. I did not use a liner today. And I'm just going to top it off with this YSL kind of iridescent Rouge Pour Couture lipstick in the shade 59. Gorgeous coral iridescent lip. I'm then taking my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Lightscapade and using this big Morphe fan brush. I'm applying it to the tops of my cheekbones, high points of my face, Cupid's bow, center of my forehead, and then using a smaller brush down the center of my nose. Just a subtle, very cool toned highlight. Gorgeous. Then using my Cosette S120 and that brightish coral blush shade from the LunatiCK Contour Palette, I am just adding that right between my highlight and contour, kind of to bring those two tones together. Now this is a very bright blush in the pan, but as you can see, it really comes off very soft and natural if you blend it out. And then I'm just buffing it out just a touch with my Delium Tools brush. And boom, that is the finished look using my LunatiCK Cosmetic Labs Contour Palette and the Supernatural Eye Palette. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful and informative. I hope this eye look is like okay. I mean, I'm kind of sitting far away because it's a draggy look. Like, it's meant to be viewed from afar, let's just say. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's kind of cute, and I don't know, maybe I'll do more stuff like this. Let me know if you like this eye shape, this kind of eyeliner shape, or if you kind of prefer my older eyeliner that doesn't go all the way in deal. You know, don't be mean about it, but just let me know down below, okay? Again, if you want to enter the giveaway where you can win this, as well as many other amazing products from LunatiCK and some other brands, please go watch the video down below and enter my 10,000 subscriber giveaway video. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a little thumbs up if you liked it. And check out some of my other videos. I'm Kimberly Clark. Bye.